Where? Oh yeah. So what was the case in the like what was her name? Um, the missing case in like the 80s. Case. That's weird. What is that? You gotta find the cases that haven't been solved. Then you could solve them. And I don't know. Do you get paid for solving cases? Like, would a rogue person get paid for solving a case? That's interesting. Wonder if they would. Passes an ordinary loft apartment in Manhattan with his family. On October 9th, 1972, he left the apartment for his school bus stop alone, and he was never seen again. There have been missing children cases all throughout history, but this perhaps is one of the first to make local and international news. For the first time in history of missing children's cases, Ethan picture was put on milk cartons. Oh, this is where the milk cartons on the back of milk cartons are. That's interesting. So that his image would reach as many people as possible, the police performed a massive search for witnesses or clues, even a viable suspect, but didn't make any arrests. This all changed when the case was reopened in 2010. Pedro Hernandez confessed to the murder of Ethan. I don't think it's Ethan. E-T-A-N. Eaton. I'm sorry. And was charged. Pedro Hernandez was charged. He was eventually found guilty and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. The body was never found and determined he had died the same day he was evicted. That's sad. Why does my phone have to ring now? That's sad. That's like I don't know. That's not a good thing. Natasha Maria, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, is truly one of the heart-wrenching missing children's cases. She was born in 1988 in Austria and was 10 years old at the time of her kidnapping. Her kidnapper's name was Wolfgang, don't know how to pronounce that, and held her for more than 8 years. Jesus. By the time she was an adult. On March 2nd, 1998, which is 10 years, Natasha left her home in... Oh, she was born. Wait, hold on. She was born in 1988 and was kidnapped in 1998. That makes more sense. I know how to read. She left her home for school, but failed to arrive. The 12-year-old witness reported seeing her being forced into a white minibus by 2 men. The police immediately responded, examined around 776 minibuses, including that of the actual kidnapper. However, the police found nothing in his van, and he was allowed to leave. Wolfgang kept his victim in a small concealed cellar under his garage for the first 6 months. It had no windows and was soundproof. During the first 6 months of her captivity, Natasha was not allowed to leave that room at any time. Later, she was allowed to merge to cook, clean, and occasionally met visitors or went on trips. Wolfgang threatened to kill her if she tried to escape or ask anyone for help. He also starved her he also starved her so that she was too weak to run or fight. I know how to read. I passed first grade, I promise. Meanwhile, the search had unearthed nothing apart from rumors about. That's not good. That's a bad thing. And organ theft. But in the end, she saved herself. Cool! On the 23rd of August, she waited until her captor was occupied, but when they were outside and ran, she approached a neighbor for help and asked them to call the police. Oh. Well, once the kidnapper knew that the police were after him, he jumped in front of a train. Woo! Happy ending. I hope she's doing okay now. That's... How old would she be? Where is she? Where am I? She was born in 88, so she would be 40. Close to her 40s now? Yeah. I can do math. I know how to do math. Elizabeth Smart. I think this is... No. Elizabeth Smart was 14 when she was kidnapped on June 5th, 2002 from her home in Salt Lake City, Utah. Her kidnappers were Brian David Mitchell. Why did I almost say Michael? And he was a preacher. And his wife, Wanda. Elizabeth was kidnapped at knife point from her bed while her younger sister lay in terror, pretending to be asleep. Wow. Elizabeth's kidnappers held her for 9 months in a camp on the outskirts of Salt Lake City. While she was there... Okay. She was found 18 miles from her home. Okay, the wife was sentenced to 15 years in prison and received early release for previously uncredited time served. What does that mean? How do you get uncredited time served? She was in there for another 2 years and they forgot to give her those 2 years, or what? How do you do that? Anyways, yeah, and Mitchell was sentenced for life in prison in 2011. Oh, after lengthy debates on his fitness to stand trial. Okay. Oh, that's great. Elizabeth has used her ordeal to fuel a life of purpose. She's now an advocate for missing persons and victims of sexual assault. That's great. Good job. Thank you. I don't know how to pronounce this kid's name. Kyron? Okay, Horman. Harmon was born on September 9th and was 7 years old when he disappeared. His disappearance is one of several missing children's cases that was filed after suspicions and confusion without any answers. On June 4th, 2010, Horman went to school early with his stepmother, Terry. I feel bad for getting names wrong. So Terry, for a science fair. They arrived around 8, and she watched him walk into the classroom and then left. Horton was last seen at 9 o'clock near the south entrance of the school by another student. When the school started at 10, wow, he was marked absent and no one saw him again. Karen has been missing for 8 years. His stepmother is under suspicion since his disappearance, but found no evidence that suggests her involvement. The mystery and the complete lack of evidence is what makes this one of the most chilling missing children's cases. His parents are still waiting and hoping for their son to come back one day. Aw, that's sad. I hope he's fine. I hope he's okay. Oh, I think this is the one that I heard about. This isn't. Who was? Actually, I think I did. Baby Lisa's. What did I do? I highlighted the whole thing. Baby Lisa was one of the youngest missing children's cases, which makes her story more tragic. Lisa Herman was just under a year old when she disappeared in 2011. She was put to bed in her crib by her mother, Deborah Bradley, who then went to have a few drinks. She would later tell police that she might have blacked out. By the time Lisa's father, Jeremy, got home, Lisa was gone. And there was little for investigators to go on. Jeremy had told the police that the window screen was pushed in and some cell phones were missing. Some cell phones? What cell phones do you have? A call from one of those cell phones was traced to a transient? But nothing ever came up of the connection. Father was under suspicion for the time, as there was only. The mother, Deborah Bradley, was under suspicion at the time, as they were the only adult in the house, but there was no evidence of her involvement, and she maintained innocence to this day. Baby Lisa, as the media dubbed her, is now missing for around 8 years, but the people who loved her hope that she is alive and well somewhere, and that she will come home someday. That's sad. I'm sorry. That's sad. I believe this is a picture of her. That's sad. I hope people stop going missing. Like I know that's hard to happen, but I hope that like people, stop going missing. Adam Walsh. There are some missing children cases that do more than devastate a family. They also drive the devastated parents to protect other children. This is one of those cases. Adam Walsh was 6 years old when he disappeared from a Florida mall. He was there with his mother in 1981. A massive search followed, but there was no trace of the boy ever found. And then the unthinkable happened. Two fishermen found Adam's head, in a canal 2 weeks after his abduction. This is the worst case scenario for his parents and for everybody who lived him. And the mystery of what happened to Adam and how that happened was destined to go unsolved. Police never convicted anyone of the murder, though they claimed in 1989 that the man who died in prison was most likely the culprit. Wait, hold on. The police never convicted anyone, but they claim that the man who died in prison was so they never convicted anyone, but they had a suspect in prison that died. Despite their grief and pain, Adam's parents used their tragedy in the best possible way. John Walsh went on to host the John Walsh went on to host the TV show America's Most Wanted. which led to the capture of hundreds of fugitives. He also helped to found the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Adam's loss and his parents' grief and pain changed the world, but it could never be enough to make up for what he had lost, for what was lost. That is true. Madeleine McCann. That's how I'm gonna pronounce that. Madeleine McCann was one of the most famous international missing children's cases in the world. Her family was from Leicestershire, but they were holidaying in Algarve in Portugal. On May 3rd, 2007, the 3-year-old Madison was left sleeping in the family's rented room along with her siblings, Sean and Emily. Okay. Amelie. At 10 p.m., Kay McCain went to check on the children. The twins were still there, but Madeleine was gone. The case made worldwide headlines and sparked a massive manhunt. Television specials explored the case and speculated on what could have happened, but nothing helped or unearthed any new leads. There were a lot of theories on what happened, but nothing solid. Unfortunately, this message is it's gone unsolved. That's sad. A lot of these are sad. Why am I reading these? These are sad. Sherry Mahan. Sherry lived in Winfield Township, Pennsylvania. Usually she was driven to her school bus stop, but on February 22nd, 1985, the 8-year-old was allowed to walk the short distance on her own. That's sad. Like, the one day she gets to walk there is at the end of the school day. Her father heard the bus pull up and leave, but Sherry never came home. And despite the snow, she left no what? And despite the snow, she left no footprints behind, indicating she was abducted shortly after getting off the bus. Sherry's mother and father raised the alarm, but it was too late. The only clue was a strange-looking van that people had seen following the bus. The van was bright blue or green. It was a bright blue or green 1976 Dodge with a painting of a skier going down a mountain on the side, but nothing ever came of the lead. Sherry's disappearance remained one of the... That's, isn't that a very particular bus? Or, van? Like, bright blue or green, which I've never seen very many bright blue or green cars. And... or 1976 Dodge vans. I didn't even know Dodge vans existed. And there's a painting of a skier going down the mountain on the side. So, okay. The Lindsberg baby. This is one of the oldest missing children's cases on record, and the most famous, too. In 1932, Charles Lindbergh, Jr., son of famed aviator Charles Lindbergh and Annie Moreau Lindbergh, was kidnapped from his crib. He was 20 months old at the time, and taken from his home in Highfields in East Armwell, New Jersey. The news stories about his kidnapping and discovery of his body was one of the biggest stories of the time. Charles Jr. was put into his crib around 7:30 p.m. on March 1st. At 10 p.m., the family nurse discovered the crib empty and informed his parents. Badly written. Wow. I mean, this guy's a terrible person, but, like, A badly written ransom note was left on the windowsill of the babies, and the baby's father investigated the house and the grounds along with the butler, Ollie Watley. They found footprints and the remainder of a wooden ladder and a baby blanket, but not the baby. Shortly afterwards, the police were called to the house and started an investigation. Unfortunately, all of their efforts were in vain. The child's body was discovered on the side of a nearby road by a truck driver on May 12th. In September, a German immigrant carpenter, Richard, don't know how to pronounce his last name, was arrested for the crime. He was tried and sentenced to death. Despite his claims of innocence, he was executed at the New Jersey State Prison on April 3rd. A year later. Or no, 5, 6. Oh my god, I can count. I can definitely count. On 1936. So, 4 years later. Timothy Pritzon. The 6-year-old Timothy Pritzon, was a happy, friendly child who is greatly missed by his father, James. On March. Okay, that's a whole new sentence. On March 11th, 2011, James drove his son to kindergarten in the morning. He told his son that he loved him, and not knowing it would be the last memory of his child. Timmy's mother, Amy, picked up her son early on the pretense of a family emergency, took him to the zoo, and 2 body parts, then vanished with him. The first James knew about him was when he arrived to pick up his son, one of which the mother took him. 3 days later, Amy was found dead in a motel room to have apparent suicide. She had been struggling with depression up to that point, but James maintained that she would never hurt her son. With her body found and no claim that Timothy was with the people who would love and care for him, and also stated, "You will never find him." James had been looking for his son ever since. Recently, a man came forward claiming to be the missing Timothy, but it was found fake. No other claims of Timmy's whereabouts have ever been found. This makes yet another one of the missing child cases. You know, really worried family members. Dang. These are sad. I've been doing this. What are some other ones? I'm going to look at more. The Sauter children just evaporated. 4 of the George and Jenny Sauter's 9 children managed to get out while their house burnt down in 1945. The other 5 were never found, neither alive or dead. But in 1971, Sauter's apparently their now adult son Louis. Whoa, this is weird. The other 5 were never found. In 1967, the Sauters got a photo in the mail, supposedly of their now adult son Louis. But the detective they hired to look into it disappeared himself. Lads, I'm gonna disappear. This is it. There's a lot of blank images. I don't understand. This is not giving me the thing that I wanted. I wanted to read more about this. Okay. Well. Alright. That was it. Little Lord Fauntleroy, a boy about 6 years old, killed by a blow to the head, was fished out of a pond in Wisconsin. In in 1921. Because of his expensive clothes, he was dubbed Little Boy. Almost 100 years later, which is 100 years now, we still have no idea who he is or how he got there. America's unknown child is still unknown. The boy in a box, I've heard of this, was given to a 3 to 5 year unidentified murder victim. Oh wait, the boy in a box is the name given to okay, that makes more sense. Whose naked battered body was found in a cardboard box near the woods of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in February 1957. Today's headstone says, America's Unknown Child. The boy is shown above is a photo of facial reconstruction suggesting facial reconstruction. Zach Ramsey may or may not be the victim of cannibalism. When 10-year-old Ramsey disappeared in 1996, known child molester Nathaniel Bar-Jonah was a suspect. Police found Zach's name on the list of victims of what? In this guy's apartment, along with ghastly recipes involving children written in code. However, the evidence was never conclusive. Okay. On March 14th, sorry, a thing popped up. Oh, okay. On March 14th, 1986, the body of a newborn baby boy was found in a lake. On the ground of a lake. I don't know how to pronounce that. The infant was wrapped in pajamas, laid down on a burlap what, Zach? And covered in plastic. Surrounding him were coins, scraps of food, and fruit. The autopsy report showed baby Victor, named by the police, died of suffocation. His injuries included face. Oh. His injuries included face mutilations and broken jaw. The case's actual identity has never been solved. The disappearance of Shinya okay, I'm sorry. She disappeared within 40 seconds. It happened in Japan on March 7th, 1989. The 4-year-old went on a walk with her parents, siblings, and cousins. Upon returning home, she was left in the front yard for about 40 seconds, where her parents carried her younger siblings inside. During this time, she disappeared. An extensive police research turned up nothing. The only potential clue was a strange phone call from someone telling them that the parents of the student's daughter and the kid needed to make a payment. No such payment was due, but it was never determined whether the call was connected to the disappearance. Is that what happens if you don't make payments to your school? No one knows or will tell what happened to Garnell Moore. Garnell went missing in Baltimore in 2002 when he was 7, but his disappearance wasn't reported until 2005. His aunt, who's taking care of him, can't keep her story straight about what became of him. Okay. Little Miss Nobody in a small grave in you really can't. In Arizona, lies the remains of a Little Miss Nobody. She was found just off Elmo Road in July, on July 31st in the 60s, and was believed to have been, between 5 to 7 years old. Her had been dyed and her finger and toenails painted red. Her finger? One of them? Her fingers? Okay. Her cause of death remains undetermined, but officials agree that it was a homicide. No suspects were ever arrested. Little Miss Nobody has never been identified, and her relatives have remained unknown. I'm getting creeped out. The disappearance of the Beaumont children. January 66 in Australia, 3 siblings, Jane, 9, Anna, 7, and Grant, 4. The air compressor has to come on now. Went to a beach and never returned. They were seen playing with a man near the water, and later the police officer said he saw them turn walking home. Seen playing with a man near the water, and the police officer said he saw them walking home around 3 p.m. Letters were later sent to their parents saying that they were later found being a hoax. The letters that were sent in the mail were a hoax? Who does that? Some guy found out and was like, this is a great idea. No, that's so messed up. The disappearance of Georgia. I need a minute. I really can't read. The disappearance of Georgia Weckler on May 1st, 1949, in Fort Atkinson, Jefferson County, in Jefferson County of Wisconsin. 8-year-old Georgia Weckler was dropped off Okay. 8-year-old Georgia Weckler was dropped off on a highway after school. Then she was never seen or heard from again. Why was she dropped off in her driveway? Wow. The haunting part of her disappearances. Curiously, prior to her disappearance, Georgia had made several remarks indicating that she especially feared being kidnapped. She was like, I am afraid of being kidnapped. I don't want to be kidnapped. And then was kidnapped. The murder of Carol Ann Stevens. Or Stevens. On the 7th of April. This is worded weird. It's not my fault. I promise. It's lag. On the 7th of April, 1959, 8-year-old Carol Ann Stevens ran up to her mother, Mavis, and happily told her that she was going outside to play. The little girl left her home in Cardiff, Wales, and was never seen alive again. Her disappearance drew huge search efforts from police and residents alike. Indications were that Carol had been abducted. Therefore, Reports for monitors and cars stopped, in all a desperate attempt to stop the abductor from taking her out of the country. Residents searched outbuildings and sheds for any sign of the girl. 2 weeks from the day, excuse me, 2 weeks from the day she vanished, a surveyor made a tragic discovery. Carol's body floating outside a river near Horeb. Someone had suffocated her and thrown her into the water. During a murder investigation, some of Carol's friends told police that the little girl told them about a new uncle she had befriended, who liked taking her for drives. Witnesses came forward to say that she had seen Carol talking to a man in a car on the day she went missing. This man was never found, and Carol and Stephen's murder remains unsolved to this day. Mikkel Briggs. While waiting for an ice cream truck in Mesa, Arizona in 1999, 11-year-old Mikkel Briggs went missing without a trace. Her mom called her and her sisters inside, so the sister went ahead. 90 seconds later, Mikkel was gone. The wheel on her bike was still spinning. Wow. The case of Bobby Dunbar. In 1912, a 4-year-old boy named Bobby Dunbar went missing on a family trip. 8 months later, he was found reunited with his family. Nearly 100 years later, his descendants' DNA proved Nearly 100 years later, his descendants' DNA proved that the child reunited with the Dunbar family was not Bobby, but rather a boy named Charles Bruce Anderson, who resembled Bobby. Then what happened to the real... Yeah, what? How? I don't like that. That gives me goosebumps. I'm not who I say I am. The murder of Kiliki Sari. Okay. Last seen alive on May 17th, 1953 in Finland. 17-year-old. Kiliki Sari was riding her bike home from a prayer meeting when she was apparently attacked. The murderer was never found, even though the story had received significant media attention. Remains were discovered on a bog on October 11th. Later that summer, her bicycle was found in a marshy area. The Lake Bodom murders. 4 teenagers were camping in the shores of Lake Bodom in Finland on June 1960, when an unknown group or individual murdered 3 of them with a knife and a blunt instrument. Though the 4th boy, Nils Wilhelm survived the attack and led a relatively normal life. He became a suspect in 2004. All charges were dropped in 2005. Therefore, the murders remain unsolved. The murder of Claire Morrison. That's not what that says. On the 18th of December, 1992, 13-year-old Claire Morrison was found and her friends visited Geelong Mall in Victoria, Australia. Claire told her friends she was going to take the bus home to fetch some money for a Christmas shop, but she never returned. The following day, her near-naked body was discovered near Bells Beach. She had been beaten, strangled, and bitten by a shark. 18-year-old Shane McLaurin told police that he saw her getting into a blue car with two men. It took several months for the police to realize that McLaurin lied, but they arrested him for perjury. Perjury, that's what that word says. He also remains the sole suspect in the murder, but remains his innocence. Recently, Claire's brother, Andrew, petitioned for a $50,000 reward for any information that would... Oh, 1992. So I was like, what? A $50,000 reward for any information that would lead to the arrest of a murder. Investigation continues, but to date, no new information has been obtained. Man, like, people who kidnap children, first of all, are bad people. Second of all, like, why? Just why? Like, you don't need to do that, you know? It's not necessary. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Just don't do that. The murder of Gregory Villemin, a four-year-old French boy who was adopted in the front yard of his home in a small village called Boscus in France. A French boy in France. On the 16th of October in 1984, the same night, his body was found. I don't know how to pronounce that. The most atrocious part of this case is that he was perhaps thrown into the water alive. The case became known as the Gregory Affair. For the decades, it has received widespread media coverage and attention and public attention in France, although the murder remains unsolved to this day. I have to sneeze. I don't have to sneeze anymore. The Bear Brook murders. You know, it's only now that my house decides to make creepy noises. On November 10th, 1985, a hunter found a metal 55-gallon drum near the site of a burnt-down shore in Bellbrooks State Park in Allison, New Hampshire. Inside were either partially or completely skeletonized bodies of adult females and a young girl wrapped in plastic. Autopsies determined that both had what? Oh, both had died of blunt force trauma between 1977 and 1985. 15 years later, another drum was discovered 100 feet away, this one containing the bodies of two more young girls, one of whom was related to the people found in... To the people? I thought you said there was only one. Yeah, you said there was a young girl. I don't understand. This one containing the bodies of two more young girls, one of whom was related to the people found in 1985. Oh, the people found. Okay. The fourth victim bore no relation to the others. The killer has never been identified, and this case is still unsolved. The Oakland County child killer was never found. 4 children from the Detroit area, aged 10 to 12, were murdered in the years of 1976 to 1977. All their bodies were left in public areas, once within sight of a police station. Once within the sight of a police station. Even one of the victims had been given fried chicken after his parents pleaded under. Okay. Even one of the victims had been given fried chicken after his parents pleaded on TV for him to come home for his favorite meal, KFC. That's messed up. Yuki Nishi vanished into the thin air. On April 29th, 2005, wow, Yuki, a 5-year-old Japanese girl, was digging up bamboo shoots to celebrate Greenery Day. After finding her first shoot and showing it to her mother, she ran off to find more. About 20 minutes later, her mother realized she was not with the other diggers, and a search began. A police dog was brought in to track the scent, and it reached a spot in a nearby forest and then stopped. 4 other dogs were brought in, and all led the search party to the same spot. No trace of Veers had never been found, as if she just disappeared in thin air. Well, this is freaky. I don't like this. I was thinking about one from, it was a famous person, or not a famous person, it was like a political person who was a politic in, like, England or something. And the little girl was, like, 8, and she was kidnapped and then found, I believe, outside of their house, like, outside of her window. And, yeah. But, I just read, like, 30 missing child cases for all of you. Wow. Anyways, it's been a long time, and I think I'm going to end the stream here. Have a good day. What is the outro? Oh God, what is the outro? Do I need a riddle? I don't need a riddle, right? I don't need a riddle. It's fine. Alright, this is Deep Thoughts FM live, and we'll see you probably on Friday. Bye. Yes, I want to end stream.